Welcome to the online discussion, Democratic Dynamics, Young Women's Political Participation. And this online event is part of the Hurford Youth Fellowship program with my project that is focused on how can increase the young woman participation in politics around the world. So my name is Patricia Zanella, and I am a Hurford Youth Fellow at the World Movement for Democracy. And in the next 90 minutes, I will moderate this discussion. So thank you all for being here on such a busy week. So let's begin. Today we have Valentina Ashraman, a 26 years old councilwoman of the Swiss capital Bern, and is part of a parliament with a 70% portion of women. She will be finishing with her master's degree in psychology this summer, and she has been working in the political fields at the local and national level for several years. Since voting in Switzerland takes place 4 times a year, Valentina became politicized at an early age, especially for social issues. She is committed to social justice as well as intersectional, queer feminist, and anti-racist politics because she is convinced that a more just world is possible and that social movements like the climate strikes, Women's March, and Black Lives Matter are only the beginning. Thank you for being here, Valentina. Eva Untitled, we are waiting for her, but she will arrive soon, so I will read her short bio. She is actively engaging in community mentoring, volunteerism, and charity programs for children and women with disability. A politician and a member of Asuogyaman Youth Parliament, run for parliament seat in 2016, breaking barriers West Africa Grand Ambassador, Gen Z, World Movement for Democracy. Eva also holds a diploma certificate in ICT, Advanced Business Certificate in Office Management and Administration, Certificate in Project Management, NGO Projects and Management. And we have also Ivana Tufegdzik. Ivana has born on 11th of February 1993. She has bachelor degree from Faculty of Law Iulius Primus at the University SSU and Methodos, Department of Political Science. She is finishing her master's on constitutional law with the fields of interest, parliament law, and procedures. She has been an intern at Assembly of the Republic of Macedonia in 2011 and 2016, and has worked as intern in parliamentary and presidential campaigns for SDSM. She is an advocate of the Youth Civil Society in the Republic of Macedonia and one of the activists of the biggest student movements in the history of the country, Student Plenum, and has been an activist in the struggle of establishing a country and a society ruled by the law, which will subsequently contribute to credible democracy and responsible institutions that meet the standards of European Union. Her candidacy for the early parliament elections in December 2016 was from the Citizens Coalition that come along with the Social Democratic Union of Macedonia as a political party. She has been a member of parliament since 2016, currently in his first term, elected as youngest MP. As a member of parliament, Ivana is coordinator of the Youth Caucus, vice president of the National Council for EU Integration, member of the Committee for Foreign Policy and Committee for Appointments, deputy member in the committees for European Affairs and Educational and Science. She has been a very active in policies for youth and education. And finally, but not less important, Melissa Novak has a degree in international relations from the UCC in Argentina, a master's degree in social science from the Albert Ludwig University of Freiburg, Germany, Flasco, Argentina, and Jawaharlal Nehru University, India, and a specialist in public policies for equality in Latin America. She has been working for 10 years in Latin America on issues of democratic innovation, gender, and development, both from civil society, the public sphere, as well as from the academy. She has articulated political innovation projects in more than 15 countries in the region with women, indigenous communities, Afro-descendants, LGBT groups, artists, emerging politicians, and social movements as regional coordinator of the Musho Compoco project, an experience of territorial articulation, democratic reinforcement, and empowerment of diversities pioneer in the region. As a result, she founded the Latin America Political Innovation Network with a group of activists from different countries. She is also co-founder of Rede Transformação, and for 3 years now, she has been part of government of the province of Córdoba. So there are 4 powerful young women seriously involved in political participation and in democratic process. And I am sure that we will enjoy a lot listening to them. So I would like to invite the first speaker, Valentina, to share with you when did you start, Valentina, seeing yourself as a politician?
Thank you very much, Patricia, for the invitation. I'm really honored to be here. And to your question, it's really started only 1 year ago because my political party was looking for candidates to run for office for the city council. And I was politically active before. And somebody asked me, do you want to run? And I said, why not? So it was only 1 year ago when I started to see myself as a potential politician.
Thank you, Valentina, for sharing with us. Now I would like to invite Ivana. Ivana, you were the youngest elected in your country. So how did it happen?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. This is a very important topic for me privately and on a national, European, even global level. It's a long story, but I will cut it short. So it was not actually my choice in the first place. I was an activist and in a very difficult time for the country. So in 2016, the Social Democrats have decided that they will include activists on their party lists. And somehow I managed to get there. I think that I have never said this publicly, but I found out that I would definitely be on the candidacy list for the elections. The morning on the news before the election, the list were adopted on the party organs, by the party organs. So it was a very complicated time for the country, and with somehow I managed to get the candidacy. And after that, to be elected in parliament as the youngest woman in the parliament. So it's sometimes in politics they have taught me that sometimes in politics you need that 10% of luck, and maybe I got lucky, I suppose.
Thank you, Ivana. Melissa, and how about you? You have experience on the three sectors. And so how do you decide working political gender?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, thank you, Patricia, for the invitation. And I am very happy and honored to exchange and share with this inspiring woman. So first of all, thank you. And regarding your question, I started being part of political innovation since 2011. And the main impulse for this participation was the reality in my region. Latin America is the most unequal region in the world, and this inequality is faced mainly for women, by women in the region. So since that moment, I decided to become a social actor that works for changing. And what I want to share with you is that based on my experience, you can make politics in every place that you participate, not only in the governments that I'm actually participating since 3 years now, but also in the NGOs, making international networks, and also in the academy. So as a result of what Patricia introduced, 10 years of like going through different countries in Latin America, working with women, indigenous groups, transgender people, Afro-descendant people, I was filled and empowered with new narratives of social transformation, especially for women. So I get involved in different spaces, and particularly nowadays, I founded this organization in the pandemic in order to support these local organizations, local movements that in a way they're like part of the big, or they're supporting like in a big way that where the state is not present, no? There are a lot of territories in my region that are like outside of the institutions, and the organizations, local organizations are supporting them. And the idea of Red de Transformação is to keep these organizations alive. So that's mainly what keeps me working from these different parts, the public, the academy, and also from civil society.
So Melissa, this is all really inspiring. Hello, Eva. Now, I already present you for everyone, but I would like to hear of you, of course. How did you start engaging in politics? Eva, can you hear me?
Mommy.
Perfect.
Hello.
Hello, Eva. So, why decide enter in politics, start engaging in politics, actually?
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for this great opportunity. Yeah. And also to say sorry for coming in late. It's been raining here, so network has not been really stable. So sound has been on and off here and there. Going into politics, you know, young women participation, especially in Africa, has been on the minimal side. And in Ghana, for some years now, we've been trying to see how best we can push the young woman into politics. So I saw the need to also join the voices so that we can see things done, especially with the young women into politics. And also a lot needs to be said and done, especially for the vulnerable. And I've always been an advocate for the vulnerable, that is women, children, and persons with disability. And in order to make our voices heard, I thought it would be the best to get involved in politics, that the decision making right from the community level. So that is how come I got into politics. Yeah.
Thank you, Eva. Your story is really inspiring too. I'm really happy for having all you in the same room, guys. It's really amazing. So I would like to ask you for all, in our opinion, what are the most important reasons for women to run for political positions? Would like to start?
May I?
Go ahead.
Sorry, Ivana?
Yes, sure. Valentina, if you want, just
All right. So I think democracy is only as good as it reflects its population. And politics, whether we want it or not, it's about power and influence. It's where the decisions are made. And it's really important that every perspective is there. And also our perspective as young women, it's different from the perspective of the older, maybe more privileged men that are in politics very often. So we have to be aware that our perspective is valid and it must be heard. So it's a great opportunity that there are a lot of young women that are willing to go into the political process and that have the courage to run for office.
Go ahead, Ivana.
thanks. So I was. This question has been on the table basically every time that I was part of some conference, or I've heard a lot of women answering this question in interviews, even in the US, in Europe, and everywhere. But I have never heard this question to be asked to a man, for example, because it's basically a natural that men will go into politics and they will shape the budgets and they will have power and they will shape policies. But when women are running for office, then every single time the journalists are asking women, why did you run for office? And no one asked that question to men. And one of my colleagues in Serbia, now she's a minister, she said at one occasion, she was very pissed off on a question by journalists, how do you manage to work in the house and being in the parliament at the same time? So those are the two questions that are only being asked to women. And if you see policies in countries that are run from women, you will see that they have better results. For example, New Zealand has won the pandemic because of the good leadership. And women are more emotional. And now some of the men will tell us that, yes, you are an emotional. So basically that's equal to hysterical. But the women's emotions into politics, they are sensed to creating policies that are not only acceptable, but they are workable for the ordinary people in our countries, are making the answer to the question very simple. It's because we know and we have the skills, we have the knowledge, same and even better than men. So that's one answer that maybe it sounds like a cliche, but if you see all the examples when women run for office, then you will see that those countries have better results, especially for the groups that are excluded from society, people with disabilities, children, women, even and men, of course.
Can I go?
Yes, you put.
I really agree with Ivana, what she said. So I think the question is why, I don't know, most women want to participate in political positions, not participate. So in my opinion, why we want to participate in politics, although we can do it, and we have, as Ivana said, the knowledge, the experience, the tools, and the abilities to make a really good policies and to change realities. But I think the question is, as I said, why we want, like now and even more, to participate in politics. And my question to that, my answer to that question regarding Latin America particularly, is that we have like two main reasons. One is the violence we experience every day, and the other are the inequalities that run through us. And regarding violence, our democracies, most of them ruled by men, and now in the 21st century, they don't have, or they're already, in my region particularly, don't have the formulation and the implementation of policies against violence for women in all its dimensions. No? Not only physical, to our bodies, the communitarian feminist said, our body politics or body territories, but also violence regarding economy. For example, due to the double work we do, paid work that in general is characterized by job insecurity, but also non-paid job when we work in our homes for our children or family, but also in political participation itself. There is violence through all these institutions, and also when we want to participate in policy. So that, I think, is the essential question, why we want even more now to participate in policy. For example, in, I don't know, 90% of heads of states in governments are in the world used by men. And in 76% of parliamentary places are occupied by men. And if we go to Latin America, today we don't have a president woman. There are no women occupying the presidency nowadays in the whole different region. So for example, if we see the executive cabinet, the ministers, only 30% in some countries are occupied by women. And if we go to like local levels, it's only 15% of women that are occupying these places. So why we want to participate, not why we participate, is because of this data. The data is showing that we are not part of these spaces, and being not part of these political spaces increase the violence that we have, because there are no people seeing or working to reduce these different violence, political, economical, and physical. So I think that's the two main reasons why we are involved in policies. But also I think and why this activism is increasing, mainly in my region, because I know the experience from Latin America, but I understand that this is growing in other regions of the world. We want to participate nowadays more than ever. It's not that there were not women like trying to participate through history, but nowadays this is very strong, and feminism has been taking a very important role. It's because we feel that there are other women supporting us. You know, this topic, you know, sororidad in Spanish, which means something like sisterhood in English, I understand, is something that is appearing nowadays. We are not alone. So we not only want to participate because this very bad diagnosis like violence and inequalities, but also now because we have very positive like tools, and one is the support from other women, and also the other is that it is slowly, but society is conscious about women's rights nowadays. So this is put there in the media. Also NGOs and social movements are supporting this. So we want to participate also because we are opening the doors to enter the politics, and we want to do it because there are a lot of historical problems men didn't solve through the times.
Thank you, Melissa. Eva, can you answer, in your opinion, what are the most important reasons for women to run for political positions? I guess the connection is failing. Okay, guys, now based on your experience, how do you see the political participation of young women in your country? Valentina, can you start? I guess that it will be great.
Of course, I can start.
Optimist vision.
Exactly, I'm very optimistic because in Switzerland, the young women's participation is really huge. Young women, they are organized. 2 years ago, we had a women's strike with more than 500,000 participants. And this is a lot, maybe not for you, I don't know. But for Switzerland, it's really a lot, 500,000 people. Also in the climate strikes or Black Lives Matter movements or everything, young people and young women are very, very political. And so I think, yes, I can be optimistic, it will change. And as Patricia already told you, I'm in a part of a parliament with 70% proportion of women, but this is a huge exception because in the institutional politics, there is a lack of women. In Switzerland, there is maybe around 30% women in politics, but there are initiatives that want to change it, and we are more aware than ever that this is a problem. But it's really, really slowly changing, but we're getting there.
Thank you, Valentina. Eva, can you share with us your answer? Now I guess that you are back. Are you mute? Are you on mute, Eva? Perfect.
I think, like Valentina was just saying, it's a long way to go, but gradually we are getting there. Because Ghana, for instance, way back before the 2012 election and all that, women participation was very low, not to talk of young women who were not even thinking of venturing into it at all. But from 2016, we have seen improvement in women participation and also with young women participation. As at now, I can say we have about 12.5% participation of women, and about half of them are young women who are doing quite well. So comparing to the previous parliament and the current one, I think there has been a great improvement. And it also has been because of the education that the majority of the populace are hearing. You know, most countries, majority are women and children. So if they begin to understand the importance of them being involved in the decision making of their everyday life and whatever that goes on around them, they begin to try to get interested in whatsoever that is being discussed. So I think it's gradually improving. It's gradually improving, but we still need to work more at it. Yes, we need to work more at it.
Lisa?
So regarding the political participation in Argentina, Argentina is a country that has been the engine of women's political participation in Latin America also. And although, as I said recently, there is a historical process that comes from the 60s and 70s and 80s. There is a big movement in Argentina that it started in 2015, which name is Ni Una Menos, No One More. And it was organized by social networks. And it became a true feminine uprising in Latin America, not only for Argentina, but also for other countries, Brazil, Mexico, Chile. So I, as a woman, as a young woman, I lived and experienced and I participated in my country in this movement. And we began from the streets, from the social networks, but then we went to the streets. And there was this phrase that we shouted in each march that was Latin America will be all feminist. And we're still doing this phrase or saying this phrase in the march. It began in June 3, 2015, and it brought together more than 300,000 people. And then it was like a tsunami, like more than 500,000 people, and then 800,000 people in the other march that came before. So this movement, no one less, put the different agendas, in policy. One of it was the femicide on the agenda in the headlines of the newspapers also, because till now, killing a woman was a passionate, process of killing, and it didn't have this idea of it was based on gender. So this movement put this topic on the agenda, and then it was legalized this idea of like having a different, I don't know how to say, like legal instrument in order to consider when murder was based on gender. Also, in 2017, this group of people from the Congress vote the quota of female representation from 30% to 50%. So we are one of the countries that in the region have the parity, these 50% men and 50% women. And also in 2018, we claimed for the legalization of voluntary interruption pregnancy. And last year, this law was reached in 2020. So ni una menos in the last with the trajectory of last 3 decades is marking nowadays also the policy of young women in Latin America and also in Argentina, is contributing to cultural transformation, and is also like converting the role of women in policy. So I think I am very happy of being part of my country in the sense that we are part of this big transformation and in this area. So yeah, that's my answer to your question.
Ivana?
Yeah, so the political participation in North Macedonia, thanks to the to the quotas that women have in the electoral code, we have now 46 out of 120 MPs women in parliament. Unfortunately, there is no quota for participation of women in the government. So in the government, we have only 4 women that are ministers out of 26 ministers in the government. So on the local level, we have from 81 municipalities, only 4 women mayors, which is a low percentage of women in that position. That is because on one thing is the electoral model. We have reached the quotas in the electoral code, which was good. There are 40% guarantee for women in the party seats, but on the other side, we are not able to impose that on the level of mayors, for example, because they are voted directly, one thing, and the other thing is that women are financially not so powerful into financing the campaigns, and that's the issue. But still, in Parliament, there is a Women Caucus, which is the strongest informal body in Parliament that exists since 2003. And they have a lot of work to do now, and they have done a lot of work for women in the country in the past, especially regarding the violence against women, actually the policies about the violence towards women. And we have ratified the Istanbul Convention about the measures for fighting violence to women. So that's the situation in the facts. But on the other side, there is a strong how to say opposition to young women into politics, and that's especially notified through the hate speech on social media, to the hate speech towards women and in politics, and the insults and the affairs that some people in the social media are just making up for only for women, and that's a big issue, because if you're a young woman and you want to run for office, then it's going to be very difficult to see what's going on the social media channels and to see all the hate speech. That is why the activists, the feminist activists, and the politicians, the women politicians, have made a network in the country that is basically putting them on the wall of shame with their misogynist comments, and especially if you have public figures that are doing that, like some journalists, some public activists. So that network was successful into protecting women from hate speech on social media. But there is a lot of work to be done, especially in the political parties, because we are talking about the system that is closed with the closed party lists. And then the reform about giving the opportunity and giving the chance to equal participation of women and men. And this is a wrong expression, because this giving the chance, we're 50-50. So it's supposed to be a rule, but it's not, unfortunately. So it all starts in the political parties, that they don't have the willingness to make the party system inside to be on the equal level for when men and women.
Thank you, Ivana, for all this information. Is really close for what I want to talk now. That is, what are the challenges women facing in order to be active in politics in your city or country? So I would like to have answers, because we talked a lot of the violence, how you need financial support, you need a head voice in political parties and work for equal participation. So Eva, can you go? Yeah, certain.
With your question,
Yeah. Should I repeat the question?
Yeah, please repeat.
Okay,
My
sorry.
audio has not been stable, so kindly do repeat the question.
Okay, so what are the challenges women face in order to be active in politics, or city, or country?
Challenges has been very numerous, but I think I just have to recount a few. The major one has been the economical challenge. You know, we are trying very hard to do politics devoid of monetary aspect of it, taking money out of it. But I can tell you that I don't think that will be possible. The only possibility is that maybe we can reduce the economical cost of it. So the major challenge has been the monetary aspect, and especially being young women, you know, most of us are in the low income bracket. So funding our campaign and political activities has not been very easy for us. So monetary has been one of the challenges. The second one is education, especially in my part of the continent, that is West Africa, Ghana. Education has not gone down very well to the girl child. So to have the opportunity to come to the political space, it's also another challenge. It is now that we are trying to work on the education for the young child in order to be able to participate in every aspect of the decision-making space. So education also in another challenge besides the economical aspect. Then our societal norms to deprive the young woman for participating with the male counterparts in the political divide. There are some tribes who don't even allow women to speak in public. They see the woman to be on the minority side of it. Even certain times of the month or certain times of the year, you are not supposed to meet at the community gatherings in order to address issues. So societal norms too has been another challenge, preventing young women in venturing into politics. So like I said, the challenges are numerous, but these are the few ones that we are trying to help our young women to solve. And these are some of the things I also faced in my political journey.
Thank you, Eva. Someone would like to add something? Or you can go for the next question, Ivana.
I will just say one example. I thought it was funny, but actually it's sad. When I think around 80 years old, the legendary Supreme Court judge, Ruth, the first women judge in the Supreme Court of the United States, died. There was one comment on social media that just brought me to attention. It's the question: why didn't she retire and then go and see her nephews and her family? So in the Balkans, unfortunately, but I think it's a common thing in even around the world, you are supposed to stay home in the kitchen with the children, with the possibility to have 5 children at least, because you are supposed to take care of the nation. And you are not supposed to be politically active. You are not supposed to even work. It's just a general opinion. It's not in the laws, but it's in the opinion of the traditional thinking in the Balkans, which has changed through generations. But unfortunately, there is still a thought that you, if you are, especially if you are young and women in politics, you are not being taken seriously. So if men can work a zero to be taken seriously on the table, then women have to work 100 times more to be taken seriously on the political table, and their suggestions, their policy proposals have to be thoroughly explored, just because they're women. And that's a big issue, let's say, and obstacle to women, because you have to fight every day just to sit on the table and
Exactly.
talk, and that's the problem. So with this example, I thought that it could sum everything that we are speaking, and this is not a national problem anymore, or even European or Balkan or whatever. It's a global one. Yes, in some countries, Eva said, especially in Africa, they are a lot of bigger challenges, but the problem is still the same, is the tradition of thinking that women are not supposed to be on the table.
So how can we overcome this challenge and make the political campaign of young women more competitive? What do you think about? Eva?
Yeah.
Start.
As we were talking about the challenges, I think along the line, we also brought out some of the solutions to this problem. Like I said, empowering the young women financially, giving them opportunities to I mean, that will make it favorable for them to go into politics. For instance, if we can set policies that if a young woman wants to go into politics, these are some of the things that we can use to support her, to give her more strength, and also to encourage her to venture into that stage of it. I think those policies can help a lot. And second one is education. Education, like I said, Ghana, for instance, we don't have much training programs coming from the government sector. It is the not profit-making organization. For instance, I had a lot of education from Genset Ghana when I decided to go into politics. They helped me at the young women in political leadership school. I learned a lot from there, which helped me in my journey. So if government, for instance, can also come in with some sort of training, that there can even be some kind of quarterly or yearly training for young women who are interested in politics to go and learn skills to communicate, I mean communication skills, how to fund their political campaigns, and I mean few of those things that will empower them, because first of all, young women are now trying to learn even to speak in public. So if the young woman is asked to go into politics without any of this education and support system, they find it difficult to go in there. So the little provocation from the men, it scares them to back out of it. So I think the young woman need a lot of education and empowerment as well. And this empowerment and education will come through training programs, both from the government and the non-governmental agencies who will support these young women, yeah, to venture into it. And it will also make it more comfortable for them when they know that they have the support of government and also the non-governmental agencies. So I think these are some of the things that has to be in place in order to encourage young women.
I think that regarding what Eva was saying, and also Ivana, first of all, there is a need for data, no? Data that help us to show how, in a way, violence involves not only in our personal life, but also in the participation in policy. In Latin America, there is no data, there is no information about this situation. There are some organizations or civil society that are documenting these cases, these different forms of violence that we experience when we try to enter policy. And some of them are showing that this violence begins in political organizations, in parties, in the nomination for elected positions, and in the exercise of this position. But there is no data from the governments, and this problem must be shown. So in that sense, I think one of the challenges, or one of the main tools that we need to develop, is to show that this is a reality. As I don't know, I am very surprised what Eva says, that they cannot talk in public. No, we need to show that this is a problem. No, and we need to show that this is not an idea, but because what I have experienced is that when I'm working, for example, in the government or different places, is that no, this what you're saying is an idea, but in reality things are changing. No, things are changing, yes, but not that much. And there are like structural problems, as Ivana said, that need to be changed more than open the spaces for 50 and 50. And the other idea, which is more positive, is that I think that answering the question on how we can be involved and help this process of participating is, I think, one of the main characteristics of political innovation is creativity. Although we don't have financial support, we can use our creativity in order to show what we want to change in our realities. In my travels around Latin America, I saw different ways of using design, technology, in order to communicate and create, for example, online debates in social networks, in another way of involving people in the campaign, not only being a person who talks to the others, but also involving the citizens in order to ask them to help you to develop your campaign. And there are different tools and different experiences in the region that are using creativity, design, social networks, different ways of obtaining financial resources, that I think is one of the parts of the political innovation that women are proposing to this agenda, related to women and politics. But also, I think the territory should be always important, not only because of digital gaps, but also due to the fact that we connect with people in a different way. So what happened in digital media can be replicated in neighborhoods, bringing debates to the square, organize spaces that feed your campaign, change the traditional way of communicate with people. In that sense, I think that one main source that we have is to change the way that policy is exercised, no? And it should be at the beginning of our campaigns, the beginning of the moment we want to start making policy. So in that sense, what Eva was saying that about the education, I think that education, of course, should come from the basis, from little children, but also it should be in the process of training of women, and the training should be based on showing new forms of making policy, learning from narratives from our territory to make circular policies, open policies, horizontal policies based on solidarity. So I think to summarize, in a way, data is important to show the problem. Creativity is other tool that we have, and territory, and to show different ways of making policy, I think, is other tool important in the process of election.
I totally agree with Melissa, Ivana, and Eva. I don't have a lot to add. I think, of course, it's really a structural problem. But above all, I think women should encourage and support each other. I made this experience with some other young women. It's more fun. You can be more creative. And we can offer each other platforms. And I think this is really, really important to have that strong network and the encouragement and the support from women to women.
Thank you, Valentina. Eva, do you like to add something? You are mute. On mute. Perfect.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I also think that there should be mentorship programs. You know, there should be mentorship programs for young women. They should have role models, especially those who have already had the opportunity to be in parliament, should start mentoring other young women to follow up with what they have started over there. Because if we need more women to be in the political space, then I don't think being there alone is fair to the others, but rather you should start mentoring others as well to join you and even to increase the numbers. So I think mentorship programs too is another very important aspect of it. And the young ones need to see role models in us. They need to see role models in us. They need to see that when given the opportunity, we can do it and even do it better than the men. You know, just yesterday I was discussing with a friend that through my research, I have realized that when it comes to corruption in the political space, more of the men are found wanting. I don't know about the other countries, but I have learned that when it comes to women, I can confidently say that they do their work diligently when given the opportunity. So when we have the space, we should be a good role model for the young ones, because when they see you doing the right thing, when given the opportunity, it's also another form of encouragement for them. As we are doing this discussion, we're having this discussion now, I believe that others too will be watching us, others will also be listening to us, and it's another way of a mentorship for the young ones. So every opportunity that we have to speak in the political space or to conduct any form of activity, we should see ourselves also as role models that others are looking up onto us, so that whatever report we are supposed to give out, there should be of a good report, so that when the younger ones are coming up, because they shouldn't have the perception that all politicians are corrupt. You know, that is also another thing. That is why they don't want to venture into it, because the moment you come out that you're a politician, they see you to be corrupt. They see you to be in just to take the public purse for your own personal gain. Okay, so if we can erase all these perceptions and give them a good report at the end of it, I think it is also another form of encouragement for the young ones to come in. So first one, mentorship, then another one being a good role model to them. Yeah.
Perfect, Eva. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing great experience. Right now, we have around 30 minutes. So I would like to open the discussion for our guests. So anyone that would like to do a question, you can raise your hands and you'll be able to talk on the talk. We also have a question on chat of one of the others for the fellow Niche. Niche, would you like to do your question? Okay. So maybe who wants to do some question? You just need to raise your hands. Okay, Nish is with connection issues, so I will read his question. What is the state of inclusivity based on ethnicity and religion in your countries? As we have talked much on inclusivity based on gender and class on women participating in politics, but what about those who are marginalized and in minority women? How can young politicians like you can enhance their political participation and encourage them to run for office and also create legal channels policies to have them elected?
We're going to collect several questions and then answer, or how do you want question after question?
I guess that question for question is better.
Okay.
So you can feel free to answer.
So the problem about, for example, in North Macedonia, there is minority issues on several level, but this is not one of the level when we are talking about the minority issues, because all women are in the same problem. And not only minority women, but we are talking about women with disabilities, women that have been from very low social class in the country. We are talking about the working class women that are working in the factories. So they are all minorities that are not heard, unfortunately. So the point being is that women that are inside politics, that managed to run for office, got the seats, got the power, got the influence, or not the influence, they got the voice. We have to unite, to work together, to give the voice to those women who are not heard. And those are the minority women, minority groups in the country that are very silent. And the point is that we have received the trust to talk with them and for them. Unfortunately, women are not united as we are here on this discussion. And sometimes the competition is more important than the support. And that's another issue. So very important thing is unity, solidarity, and speaking up for the groups that don't have the luxury to speak, not only through laws or through policies or through strategies. For example, in my country, we are, I think, the champions of writing everything in a law, in a strategy, in an action plan that never works out. And we have to start being champions of talking and solving issues, especially for women, and not being the champions on writing everything into a law. I hope I answered the question.
I would like to add some ideas, particularly in Argentina. I can say that we had a very good experience in thinking about the role of women in policy, but a very bad experience of thinking about women as a diverse group. No? So when I started talking about which was my main impulse to be participating in politics in different spaces, like doing politics in different spaces, I said that it was because Latin America is the most unequal region and that women are the most excluded people in this region. But when I was talking about women, I was talking about a group of women that are based on diversity in this region particularly. So we have indigenous women, Afro-descendant, peasant women, white women, young women, women from favelas that are from urban spaces but are poorest than those who are living not in the favelas. And in a way, we should have this intersectional point of view when we are talking about women. And in Latin America, they are not minorities. They are majorities in most of the countries, in Guatemala, in Peru, in Bolivia. And when I was like saying these different numbers of how are like women less represented in different stages in policies, like in parliamentars, in local governments, we don't have a president who is a woman. When we see these numbers with an intersectional point of view, the numbers are less. So we don't have, particularly in the region, indigenous women participating, or there are less women, indigenous women or Afro-descendant women participating in the policy. The only case is Bolivia, which is an exception in the whole region, where the approval of parity made a significant change for indigenous women, because as I said, this country is in like diversity is the majority, not a minority. But if you go, and I have been there several times to Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, although most women are diverse and they come from different ethnic realities, white women, if they are being part, are those who are talking in the Congress or are those who are talking in the local governments. And of course, they are a minority, no? But there are no space for, or there are less space for indigenous people, Afro-descendant. If we see Afro-descendant data, only 0.1 of parliamentaries in Latin America are Afro-descendant women. 0.1. When we have 150 million Afro-descendant people in Latin America. So I think that that question that Nish made is very important in order to think that this is one of the main challenges we have. And I think what Eva was saying, that training and being an example of what we want to be or what we want to do is the main role. So, and as I started saying, I'm very proud of being in Argentina, but I'm not very proud because we don't have that much this point of view. We are still being white women participating, and we should make space and not only make voice of them, but make space for them to have voice in the spaces of political participation.
I think this is a very important point, and I totally agree with everything that was said already. And we are talking about women in politics, and this is important and a big feminist issues, but our feminism has to be intersectional. It's or nothing. And I don't have the exact numbers in Switzerland, but most of women in politics are white. They are in university. They have money, not a lot, not really rich, but it's about the privileged white women. And we, just like Melissa said, we have to speak up for them, but especially we have to make place for them. I think this is really important. And this part of participations starts very early, like in our neighborhood. Within the organizations, we have to be really easy to reach, easy to participate. And then we have to have role models and everything. Like we do it with women, we have to do it with every other minority.
Eva, do you like to answer to Denise's question? Eva, can you hear me? Okay, Do you like to add something to answer to?
Mm, I I I quite agree with all the ideas shared and opinions, but I also think that apart from all that has been said and done, any of the political parties that find themselves in government, I mean, should take these issues very, very importantly. And in order for them to take young women participation in politics very important, young women ourselves need to sound it in their ears, you know, until we stop talking, they will not listen. So I think the talking must continue. We should continue saying it in their ears for them to know what we want and what we want them to do for us. It will not be very necessary that all of us should be there. But the point we are trying to make is that they should give us the opportunity, if not all of us, some of us should be there. And if they are there now, making up the majority of the lawmakers, I think they should also listen to us and make our voices heard. We want women to be there, yes, but I think the men too should get involved in fighting the cause of women, because we are there for each other. They cannot do without us, and we cannot do without them. Because when we talk about women in political participation, sometimes the men feel that we want to take their place. And yes, if you want to do it and let's see. But we don't want to take their place, but we want to work together with them. Because in diversity, we make more progress and there is more growth. So we just want them to see us as their counterpart in whatsoever they are doing. We don't want to take their space. We just want them to give us a space in their own space as well. So the men should also come on board. It should not be only the fight of women, pushing for equality in decision making. I think men too should get involved. And when they also have the opportunity, they should also sound it, because I know some men who are quite passionate about the need of women in decision making. It's just unfortunate that when they come together, though they know our needs, they don't talk much about it. So we want to be there to sound it for them to, take us serious in a way. So I think it is not one person's work, or it's not only the female gender's duty to push for participation at the decision-making table. The men should also get involved, because gone are the days we were talking about the girl child education. At a point, we realized that the male child were also, left behind. So in this case, whilst we are pushing for women to get there, I think the men should also get involved. The men should also be our support system in whatsoever we are doing. If we are discouraged from getting there, I don't think the discouragement, most of it will come from the men, like Ivana was saying. Some of the women too are fighting the women, not allowing them to get there. So if together we can do this, I think it will ease up the stress, the fear. It will take away some of it. Just like Ivana said, on this platform, we are all working towards one common goal. But when we are in our individual closet, it may not be the same. We may be here saying it, young women in politics, let's encourage them to get there, but we will go to our own closet and we may have different ideas altogether, and we'll start seeing each other as enemies. So I think in fighting for political participation, in my own opinion, I used to tell women who are in politics in my community that it's not about your political party, but it's about the majority that we are all, crying for. So if you are a woman and you want to go into politics, or you want to be at the decision-making table, it's not about you belonging to my political party or belonging to another political party, my main aim is to see more young women in politics. So if it is in my place to support, yes, I'll give you all the support you need, because it may be your turn today for you to go. The next time it may be my daughter, my sister's turn to go. So if we give ourselves the support needed, I think it will also ease our stress and our fear. So let's be each other's keeper and also encourage the men to support the women. Yeah.
Can I add something, Patricia?
Yeah.
I completely agree with was saying Eva, but I think another challenge that we have is to change the way, and I said already something, but I want to make a point like clearly, is that we should like work together, women and men, having this idea that women are diverse, and I think men are also diverse, but we should work not only to put gender agenda in policy and to make the space for more women to be participating in politics, but we need to work together in order to change the way power is exercised. Because when we enter to the institutions, and I'm being part of one government here in Córdoba, I see the way power is exercised. I have a very important person in my life that always says that power is not taken, it's exercised. And the way power is exercised should be changed, because if we work together with men and we work together also between women in order to be being part of policy, of politics, maybe we entered and then power is exercised in a patriarchal way. In a way that it continues reproducing hierarchy, more power to one person, less to another, and there are different ways of exercising power in our territories, based, for example, on indigenous people, on Afro-descendant peasant people, and I know different ways of exercising power, which is not based on a competition, on hierarchy, but it is exercised from horizontal, collaborative, solidarity, sororian, which are like main ways of exercising power in a different way. So men and women should work together, yes, but we should be trained in a different form of exercising power, because it's not only to enter politics, but it's to change the way politics is being done nowadays. So I said we should exercise power from a feminist point of view. And this feminist point of view should be for all of us, not only for women that fight for feminism, but also for men. Men should be exercising power in policy from a feminist point of view. And in that sense, I think we can change politics like from the roots. Otherwise, it's only being participating there and nothing else.
Yes, so we have more 3 questions. Habiba, you raise your hand. You can go?
Thank you so much, Patricia. My name is Habiba. I'm from Uganda, the eastern part of Africa. Thank you so much. You people are serving as an inspiration to the new generation of women who are prepared to take the same journey as you people. I work with an organization empowering women in my country, and I have a project which is basically working on leveling the ground, making sure that women are equal. And my project is on empowering women attain financial stability. We all know politics is money. If you do not have money, there is no way you're going to compete, most cases when it comes to Africa. So as we have tried to empower these women, the society is really pulling us down. We have a lot of norms and then stereotypes, which is affecting women participation into politics. Like, for example, if a young woman is not yet married, doesn't have kids, sometimes it affects them. They cannot go into politics because most people will ask them, if you're not married, if you don't have kids, if you failed actually to have such a small family and look after them, how are you going to take care of us? So I want to ask a question to my friend in Ghana, because we almost have the same problems. How are you handling this issue? How are you handling the society? Because it is one of the main challenge that we are having. It is pulling most women down. Then another thing that maybe I want you people to throw more light on is about leadership and politics. Like, I would say we have so many people who have better ideas, who never went to school, who never had any formal education, but they do have, when they talk to you about something, you see they are very good leaders. But however, education is stopping them from taking part into leadership. Like, how can we? I don't know. I want someone to throw more light onto that. Like, those people who are capable, but then the education is stopping them. And then sometimes we tend to take dummy, I don't want to use the word, but dummy leaders into like parliament, who cannot even say something that is very constructive or helpful to the community. So yeah, those are my questions.
Thank you so much, Nabiba. I will go from Lala that has a question too, and then we can answer all the questions. Lala.
Thank you, Patricia. And thank you to all the presenters. It was really insightful, and I was really happy listening to all your experiences. And just in case you don't hear me, just know that it's the network. It's really bad in Gambia. But yeah, I think we have similar experiences, because in the Gambia too, like almost everything that was discussed here are the barriers that hinder the political participation and representation of Gambian women, particularly young women. And we have been trying to address these fundamental problems at the government level, at the civil society level, and even on the level of political parties, where I have experience working for a little bit before I left. But then you realize that it's not always like the policies, it's not always, because in the Gambia, we have a parliament of 58 seats and we have less than 7 women. We have about 6 women in that parliament, and only 3 of them were elected. The others were nominated into the parliament. So you realize the problems with representation, and we have a local governance system with less than 7% representation, female representation. So you realize that there's a fundamental problem just looking at those statistics. But when you start a national dialogue, because we started a program when we participated in the Gen Z Breaking Barriers Young Women in Politics Forum. And when I came back, I decided that I was going to do something for young women in my country too. So I partnered with the UNDP, and we had the country's first ever Young Women in Politics conference. But just listening to those young women in that conference makes you realize that the patriarchy, the internalized misogyny, because you hear them talk about, well, we can participate, but our participation, we think, should maybe be limited to campaigning for the men and mobilizing people and human resources to vote for the men during elections. And you realize that the misogyny has been internalized to such an extent that young women or women feel that it's okay for their participation to just be limited to campaigning and electing men into public office. And then you go around the country and have capacity building programs, try to build the capacities of these young women to ensure that they participate in electoral processes, not just as voters, but as candidates. And then you realize that there is a big gap. There is a big gap. And from the policy side, from the government side, from the decision-making side, just last year, the Gambia went through a dictatorship. And right now we are trying to transition into a more democratic dispensation. And so we had key transformative areas, transitional justice processes that we had going on. And one of them was the Constitutional Review Commission. And part of that was to change the laws of the Gambia, because the constitution that exists right now, the 1997 constitution, basically enabled a dictatorship in the Gambia, and people felt like we needed to change those laws. So in that process, in the new law that was made, the new draft constitution that was drafted by Gambian lawyers through the commission, there was a particular schedule, a particular provision that was going to ensure that at least 14 Gambian women have seats in the parliament. This was going to ensure that we have a little bit representation of women in parliament, and also to ensure that the differently abled also have positions within the local government structures and in the parliament and across other developmental sectors in the central government. But then the political parties, so the system in the Gambia is like the lawmakers are not, their obligation, their primary obligation is not to serve and represent the people who elected them, but to serve the interests of their political parties. And this is where the problem with political parties come in place. Because those lawmakers like basically just threw out the constitution and refused to vote it to pass because there were particular sections in the draft that did not support the interests of their political parties in the election year or the election cycle this year. So you realize the problem, and we encourage young women. We try to build their capacity. We come up with programs, we come up with forums, with conferences, we do national dialogues through the media, through radio, community radios, and all of that. But you realize that the problem is the internal political party structures in the Gambia. You have political party structures, like their constitution does not even encourage women participation. So you have all their leadership basically male dominated, and the assistants and the deputies and the second are all women. So when you talk about, or how are you mainstreaming gender, how are you mainstreaming women issues in your internal party structures? They tell you, oh, we have a woman as the deputy party leader, or we have a woman as a deputy this or a deputy that, basically just to prove a point that they have women. So my question is, how do we go about ensuring that our advocacy or our work to influence change and to ensure that we create a platform for women to be able to participate also includes working with the internal political party structures, basically starting with the political party structures that we are affiliated to ensure that they have policies or their constitution basically encourages young women to apply for positions and they're nominated during elections for parliamentary and local government processes.
Thank you, Lala, for all this information and your question. Eva, can you start to answer Abiba?
Yeah. Habiba was trying to find out how to handle the gender stereotyping in the political space. I will tell Abiba it's not easy, but the most important part of it is focus. Focus. When you are focused on what you want to do and what you want, this kind of stereotyping will not be a problem for you, because like it or not, they will come. They will definitely come from left, right, center. They will come, but you have to be focused, because the moment you step out there to let them know that this is what you want to do, they will start. Even your own female counterpart will start. Even the information the men will get in order to intimidate you, you'll be surprised they get this information from our own female counterparts in order to intimidate you. So as for the gender stereotype, they will come. But when you are set that this is the journey that you want to embark on, just focus. Focus, and don't toe the same line they are towing. Like in Ghana here, gone are the days they are fond of political insults. They will go on social media insulting you, calling you names, saying all kinds of lies about you. Even the ones that they've not heard, they will be adding to it. But when they start like that, don't get involved, don't give them attention. Just focus on what you want and what you are doing, you know. And when you start doing that and you don't do what they are doing, because the moment you start replying to their accusations, I mean, trying to give it back, because sometimes we feel that when they intimidate you, you must fight back. No, fighting back is not the best thing to do, but rather you should focus on what you want to do. You should focus on the people that will be listening to you, because along the line, you should bear in mind that they are watching, they are listening. They want to know how you react to this kind of insult and harassment. Okay, so in doing all of this, it will even help you more in your political journey, because your ability to handle this kind of tension and intimidation will let the greater population know that when given the opportunity, you can do it. Because you don't go insulting them when they insult you. You don't go, trying to reply them because they are saying it. Just ignore it. No matter what you do, they will come. But ignore and be focused. Stay focused on your journey. This is what I want. This is what I want to do. If you give me the opportunity, this is what I can do for you. Don't go promising things that you cannot offer. That is why in the beginning, I spoke about education. When you get to understand your duties as a decision maker, then it will give you more insight into what the people should expect from you. You don't go promising them things that you cannot offer them, just in order to be able to, compete on a fair slate with your other opponent. No, make them understand what your duties are. Make them understand what you can do for them when given the opportunity. And when you start doing these things and make them understand you better, I don't think you need to reply to any of the, insult or harassment that will come. Sometimes your main supporters will be doing the work for you, whilst you just relax and focus on what you want to do for them. So stay focused, ignore them, don't toe their line, do politics devoid of insult and harassment. That is what I can tell Abiba to do. I know how it feels like, especially in our terrain, in our part of the world. Politics in Africa is it's not a small game. It's not at all. So just stay focused. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Eva. We have one more question from our co-host and my peer collaborator on the program, Stephanie. Go
Yes.
ahead, Stephanie.
Thank you so much. I know that we're wrapping up and I will be very short. In addition to all the questions you already received, could you also in your final speeches mention a little bit about the situation with young women in the youth wings? So is their situation different, or it's still the same like in the general politics? My question is more into, are they encouraged to participate within the youth wings of the political parties? Do they have enough opportunities, or this, what we're seeing in the general picture, is more or less what they're facing everywhere along the way of becoming a politician? Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Can you have time for a last question from Anu? Anu is the coordinator of United People Global, international organization of leaders for sustainability and better the world, and make the world a better place. So Anu, go ahead, please. You can turn your camera if you like it.
Oh, thank you so much, Patricia. Unfortunately, I can't turn on my camera right now. I just wanted to commend everyone, the guest speakers, for their work, and just wanted to say that I believe our work is like sowing a seed. We might not reap the roots now, but definitely once the seed has been sown, it will definitely grow and it will yield more fruits. So we might not see the full picture of what we're doing now in our generation. It might be the next generation who will begin to reap the fruits, especially for women in political participation. So I just wanted to commend everyone, and I'm really loving it. Thank you, Patricia, for the invitation, and it's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Anu. So now I guess that we just need to answer Lala and Stephanie, and we can do for our final phrase, and maybe a phrase for inspiring other people to still fighting.
I want to answer Lala when she was asking about how we should do for those women that are leaders, but they don't have the resources in order to participate in policy. And my experience is that I'm nowadays part of the government, but most of my trajectory participating in policy was not being actively participating in the way that I was the person who was talking in the spaces, but I was the person who articulate others to participate. No? Through this project, which was a lot with a little, mucho con poco in Spanish, the idea was to recognize these people, these leaderships that are from the territories, from the peripheries, from the margins of democracy that comes with less resources that we have. And through 8 years, my role was to articulate and bring spaces for them to participate. So based on this experience, my recommendation is to organize, to articulate, to put your energy in order to allow people to have voice. And there are many ways, and you don't need that many resources. You can use social networks, you can use a square in your neighborhood. You can make spaces for political debate, for exchanges, for co-creation of new ideas in order to make these leaderships that are from the margins to have more voice, to have more space. And this project, Mucho con Poco, was an example of that. Nowadays, I worked with more than 3,500 women, indigenous people from different parts of Latin America. And I can see that nowadays that there are several women that were part of these margins that now are working in policy. One example is Juanita. She's from Ecuador. She directs this woman movement, which is Mujeres de Asfalto in Spanish, which is women that are in the road. Asfalto is the how can I say, is the material that you use in the street. And she was a candidate for the parliamentary in Ecuador this year. And she is a Black Afro-descendant woman that was part of these spaces of political debate with mucho con poco, with a lot with a little. And you can do it. And it's not only that there are people that have leadership, but also they have different knowledge that they can change the way politics can be made. So I encourage you to be that person that articulates. Maybe we are not part of the policy, but we can articulate spaces for others to be part of it.
Thank you, Melissa. And Stephanie's questions, who would like to answer?
Yeah, I can actually, I can address the 3 questions because even Habiba had one question about the leadership in politics and why do we sometimes elect dumb leaders and not the smart ones. Well, I think the answer to the question and the difference between leadership and politics is who fights more, who fights better, and even the education is not the merit for it, unfortunately. So I think that as voters, now I'm former MP, so now I'm just a voter. Maybe we can, as voters, see and measure the responsibility, the willingness for responsibility and accountability of the people who are running for office. That's the big difference between leadership and politics as usual. The second question was from Lala about the problems in Gambia, and I think that the constitution maybe it's not going to change anything, but it's a huge step for women. And there are three ways to ensure that men are voting that in parliament. One is pressure, two is pressure, three is pressure. So petitions, being into unity with the men who are more open-minded to change, because now they will have to face the change that women are not only companions to men, but they are actively involved into the public life. And to use that unions with men, and always it's a good pressure if there is a petition, even in the societies that are unstable, like mine, for example. Always good is a good pressure of the elections. If when they are going in a pre-election campaign, then you have to make them promise that they will change the laws, the constitution, or whatever is needed for women. Pre-election time is a perfect time for pressuring. And about the youth wings in the political parties and women in youth wings in the political parties, I think that the problem starts there, starts and finishes there, because the political parties, unfortunately, are too closed and too close for changes, especially, and they need to open up. And one of the opening is maybe women inside the youth wings. As Eva previously said, the key point is education, but educating the young men also, especially in the youth wings of the political parties, because they are the key to social change, especially in the democratic level. So that would be my finish line, let's say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ivana. So I guess that we finished. Thank you for this wonderful online discussion. I am really happy to put all you together, and I learned a lot. I hope that our participants and audience learn it too. We can take a picture. I was thinking about this. So who is in the audience? Like we can turn on the cameras and take a picture with all of us. There's a lot of women here, so I am really grateful for be part of this initiative. And I wait for all you in the second online discussion that I will promote on the end of the month. So thank you all for being here today. I know that it's Saturday and the week was busy, so really, really thank you.